Hey friends, Miranda Vivanco here, and in today's episode on Cooking with Essential Oils, we're going to make dark chocolate candy cane cookies for the Christmas holiday, featuring doTERRA essential oils. Before we get started, if you like this type of content, give this video a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell notifications. That way you get notified every time we put out a new video. Also, remember to download your recipe book at cookwithoils.com. Plus, I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, let's get started. So we're gonna be making dark chocolate candy cane cookies, and I'm so excited. I love these cookies, and I'm actually gonna be making them for my cookie club this year. They don't know it yet, but that's what they're getting. It's dark chocolate candy cane cookies. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to be mixing in our butter and our sugar. So I have a cup of softened butter that I'm gonna put into the mixer. And then I'm going to be adding the sugars to that. And this candy cane cookie is going to be using peppermint essential oils. So it's going to be fabulous. I love peppermint. Mint is one of my favorite flavors. And so I put in a cup of the butter, and now I'm putting in a cup or a half a cup of regular granulated sugar and a cup of packed brown sugar. Why do we pack it? I don't know. All I know is that's what all the recipes tell you to do, to have it packed. And I'm gonna start the mixer and get those mixed together where it's really light and fluffy. So take about a minute or two. So let's get mixing. Okay, now I've mixed my butter and my sugars. And the rest of the ingredients in this recipe, they call for 2 eggs, 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. I always use pink Himalayan salt, that's my favorite. Has the most flavor and is the best for you. And then we use a 1/4 cup of dark cocoa and a 1/4 cup of regular cocoa. So why the dark cocoa and regular cocoa? Because it gives it that depth of chocolate flavor that you want, and when the mint is put in there, it tastes amazing. The dark cocoa will help make the dark chocolate, make it look like dark chocolate and make it a little bit darker in color, so that when you're looking at it, it looks like it's a dark chocolate cookie versus a regular chocolate cookie. But it also has that little depth of flavor in it that's different from regular cocoa. Combining both of them, it gives you kind of the depth of flavors put together, so it's really nice when it's put together. It's peppermint essential oil from doTERRA. I love peppermint essential oil, and this recipe, it tastes delicious, and it tastes delicious just like with the chocolate peppermint brownies we made. It's gonna make this taste even better. So let's go ahead and incorporate our eggs. So I put the butters and the sugar, or the butter and the sugars together, and now I'm gonna be putting the 2 eggs in to mix with the butter and sugar. And I'm gonna incorporate my peppermint essential oil now, because this is the last wet ingredient that goes into the cookie batter before the dry ingredients. If you put it in with the dry ingredients, it's gonna clump up into little dots. So you'll put a drop in there, and all the flour will clump up in that little drop, and it'll put it in one spot into the recipe instead of dispersing it evenly throughout your entire recipe, so you have mint flavor throughout. Have you ever had something where, like salt, it happens with salt a lot. All of a sudden something's really salty. It's a little clump that didn't get dispersed properly because you didn't mix it with the flour well enough to go into the recipe. The same thing happens with wet ingredients if you put them directly with dry ingredients first thing, without mixing all the wet ingredients together first. So let's put our peppermint oil. I'm gonna be doing 6 drops of this peppermint oil in with the eggs. And then I'm going to drop those into the mixer and mix them. And here we go, put it in, and I'm gonna start mixing. Okay, so we have our peppermint essential oil, the eggs, the butter, and the sugars all mixed together. And now I'm gonna start incorporating the dry ingredients. I have my 2 cups of flour. I'm gonna add in a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of the salt, pink Himalayan salt, and then a 1/4 cup of the dark cocoa, and then a 1/4 cup of the regular cocoa. As you can see, the color changed when that was dumped in there. Okay, so I have all of my dry ingredients put together, and I'm just gonna mix them together a little bit because the cocos and the flour need to mix up a little bit before we incorporate it into the recipe. Same applies here as with the essential oils. If you don't mix in these cocos, it's going to clump up into one section instead of mixing and dispersing properly throughout the whole thing. So we used peppermint essential oil in this recipe, and I have to tell you, it's one of my favorite oils that we have. It's a really super powerhouse. It helps with respiratory function. It promotes your digestive health. You can take it and use it to, if you have a stomach ache or you feel nauseous, and it will help get rid of that. All you have to do is put a drop in your hands and breathe it in, or put a drop on your tongue. Helps with the breath. It helps your oral health, helps with a lot of things. So I'm gonna put this into the mixer now, and then we're gonna mix this all in together. Okay, our dough is ready, and now we need to refrigerate our dough. And this dough is gonna refrigerate for about an hour, and then we can roll it out and put it onto our cookie sheet and have it be all pretty. Okay, now that the dough was in the refrigerator for an hour, I've rolled out some of these cookies. I'm gonna roll out the last one here, and then put that on there. And we're gonna put them in the oven. I preheated the oven at 350 degrees, and they're going to cook for about 10 minutes. So while that's going on, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about peppermint and what peppermint can do, because it has so many different properties and so many things that it can do for you, for your health and for your well-being. It's amazing. One of those things is a pick-me-up. Like literally you can put peppermint, put it in between your hands, breathe it in, put it on the back of your neck, and you will feel invigorated. You'll have another, like a second wind, and it'll pick you up into doing what you wanna do. Same goes with like brain fog. So my husband had some brain fog while we were doing these videos today. He was like, oh, I'm just tired, because he's been eating cookies. We've been making cookies and we eat them because they're yummy. And he was like, I just have some brain fog. And so I told him to take the peppermint, I put a couple drops in his hand, he breathed it in, put it on the back of his neck, and all of a sudden he was his crazy self again. It was great, it was amazing. So, along with the digestive health and the respiratory health and all those things that it helps with those functions, it can help you with your mood, it can help you with all of the other things that are happening in your body, as well as tension. Neck tension. If you have neck tension or you have a headache, you can use peppermint on the back of your neck. You can put it on your temples, and it will help with alleviate headaches as well. That's my experience. So I'm gonna put these in the oven now, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so these peppermint cookies have been baking for 10 minutes. And as you can tell, what happens is they get high in the cooking and then they deflate. And when they deflate, they get kind of this crinkly top on them. And that's when you know they're cooled and ready to go. Okay, so I have white chocolate chips. They're melting chips from Ghirardelli that I'm gonna melt in the microwave. 30 seconds stir, 30 seconds stir. Just make sure that they're melted. Don't overcook them, because then it starts to burn them and it doesn't taste as good. So we're gonna melt those. And then I have these candy canes. I've unwrapped them and I put them in a baggie, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smash them into little pieces. So they're gonna look something like this. And we'll have little candy cane pieces smashed up together. So we're gonna sprinkle that on top of the white chocolate after we dip the cookies. It's the most fun part. So now that our cookies are nice and cool, I have the white chocolate melted and I have the candy canes crushed. So I'm gonna dip the cookie halfway into the white chocolate, and I'm gonna let it drain a little bit so that all the excess gets off and makes it nice and pretty. And then we're gonna drop it right back on the parchment paper, because that's where it will easily come off later, and we're gonna let it set there. While I'm doing that, while it's sitting, I'm gonna put on the candy cane, the crushed candy canes under the top. And there we go. And we have a really nice presentation of the cookie. I'm gonna do this with all of them. Now, if you're in a hurry, what you can do is you can do this and then pop them into the refrigerator or pop them into the freezer, depending on how fast you need them. And the chocolate will set a little bit faster. But if you have time, you can just put them on the table or on the counter, and then they will set after an hour or two and be just fine. You don't have to worry about the chocolate going everywhere. It'll be nice and it'll be firm enough on the cookie that it'll be ready to eat. All right, here are our dark chocolate candy cane cookies. Look at this presentation. Look how pretty they look. This is a great gift. This is something that the neighbors, your coworkers, your family, your friends, everybody will love. And they have peppermint essential oils. Remember, the peppermint essential oils is good for your digestion and your respiratory health and your oral health, and it helps your stomach. There are so many things peppermint oil can do, and it makes cookies like this taste delicious. Well, that wraps up another Cooking with Essential Oils episode. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, Please subscribe and click the bell notification so you never miss my weekly episodes, where I show you how to use essential oils in your everyday cooking. If you want this recipe or others like it, I'll leave the link in the description, or you can always go to cookwithoils.com and download your own Cooking with Essential Oils recipe book. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll answer all of them. And remember, the best way to support my channel is to share it with a friend. Thanks again for watching. Long live essential oils.